Hey, it's Friday Night Live. Not necessarily at 6 o'clock, but I am back. I took a couple of weeks off for the holidays, and to be completely honest, it's been really, really difficult to get back into the swing of things. And I'm sure you're probably going through that as well, right? Trying to get back to work after we've had this downtown or downtime of maybe doing some things, but not doing as much as we had going on. So just really, really difficult. Should have been here last Friday, but I just couldn't do it. So I do want to come back tonight, and I wanted to talk about the difference between pay raises and cost of living adjustments. Question comes up quite frequently in the class, so I thought that it was worth bringing over to the Facebook Live. When we talk about pay raises, they can become effective at different times depending on the employment of the federal employee. So if we have a general schedule employee, a GS employee, those pay raises are voted on by Congress. There was one that was passed that became effective in January of this year for 1%. So for the GS employees, that's the way it happens. Sometimes there's a pay raise, sometimes there isn't, but it's by congressional approval. And then we also, within the federal government, have a category of employees that are called federal wage system employees. These can be wage grade, wage leader, wage supervisor. They're not GS, they're WG, WL, WS. The wage system employees receive raises only when a wage survey is done and it's determined that there needs to be an increase in the pay setting. For these jobs, they are trades folks, so various things, painters, plumbers, aircraft mechanics, working in the cafeteria, just for some examples. And we try to set the pay for these federal employees to be equitable with what people outside of the government doing that same kind of work are getting paid. So if there's a wage survey done and it's determined that they're not being paid enough, then there would be an increase in the pay for the wage system. For our senior executive service members, or SES, and also for people that are working with the federal government but in a banded system, their pay raises are based upon performance. So we have to have that performance appraisal done, determine what that is looking like, and whether or not there's going to be any increase in pay, an increase within the movement or increase within that banded system. So that's different. But for all of these, regardless of where the pay raise comes from, how the pay raise is approved, a pay raise is an increase that takes place while the employee is still working. So this can increase their high three average salary, and because the pension is based upon creditable service times a percentage times the high three average salary, any increase in pay, therefore an increase in the high three, can result in an increase in the retirement calculation or the annuity that's going to be payable to that person. Conversely, when we talk about cost of living adjustments, there are a couple of different COLAs that I want to cover with you. But the first one that I want to talk about is one that's applicable to retirees. So a pay raises while I'm working, a cost of living adjustment is after I have retired. Maybe. There's a whole lot that goes into that. The cost of living adjustments are computed by the Department of Labor, where essentially they're going throughout the US and looking at the costs of various items. If there's an increase in the price of these things, then there's an increase in the consumer price index. And it is the consumer price index that we look at to determine if there's going to be any kind of increase to the retirement or to the annuity. So they're looked at monthly. The numbers are usually announced quarterly. The final number comes out in October for that previous year. And if there was an increase, then that increase is seen in the December retirement payment. We usually will get that payment in January because it's always coming to us 1 month behind. So one of the things that I always want my students to understand is that cost of living adjustment is based upon last year's consumer price index. That means that the first COLA might be prorated. If I wasn't retired for that entire year, I wouldn't get that entire COLA. Example, if I retired in June, let's say, and there was a COLA that was effective on December 1st, come January, I would only get 50% of that COLA because I'd only been retired for 50% of the year that it was in effect. And of course, every year after that, if there's a COLA, I'm retired 100% of the year, I'd get 100% of that COLA. So that is something that a lot of people don't understand, and I think it's really, really important. It does say here that cost of living adjustments are applicable to the retirement potentially, because it will depend on how the person retired and what system they retired under. Hey, Kathy, I'm so happy to see you. Hey, Trisha, thanks for stopping by. So we've got two main systems in the federal government, right? The old system, which is called CSRS, or the Civil Service Retirement System. People under CSRS would be eligible to receive 100% of the consumer price index for a given year. Again, remembering that that first one might be prorated if they weren't retired for the whole year. But our federal employees that are under FERS, or the Federal Employees Retirement System, don't necessarily get 100% of any cost of living adjustment. It will depend. Hey, Ellen. It will depend on what the COLA actually was. So you can see on the slide here, if the COLA is 2% or less, then both CSRS and FERS are going to get all of it. But if the COLA is between 2 and 3%, the CSRS retirees would get all of it. The FERS retirees would get only 2%. Say it was 2.5, they wouldn't get 2.5, they would get a flat 2. And if that consumer price index, and thereby the COLA, is above 3%, the CSRS retirees get all of it. The FERS retirees get 1% less than what the actual COLA is. So a lot of times in class you hear me call that diet COLA, right? They don't get the whole thing under FERS if it's above 3%. Now again, I've got to say potentially though, because not all of our federal employees that retire under FERS are eligible for cost of living adjustments, even if there's an increase in the CPI. FERS retirees generally do not qualify for any cost of living adjustment until they are 62 or older. 62 or older. So if I retire at 56, which is my minimum retirement age from the federal government, based on year of birth, but that's what mine is, if I did leave at 56, I would not be eligible for any kind of increase in that annuity payment until I have my 62nd birthday. And then we have that diet COLA going on. Now, there are some exceptions to this age 62 rule. If someone retires on a disability, we set their annuity payment based on a couple of different things. We look at either 60% of their high 3 average salary, or we pretend that they keep working for the government until they're 60. Then we look at their high 3, we look at how long they've been working, we apply the regular formula. So if I retire on a disability, provided I'm not getting that 60% of the high 3 average salary, I am eligible to receive cost of living adjustments even under age 62. Also, if I'm working for the federal government, but I'm a special provision employee, and these include our federal law enforcement officers, firefighters, air traffic controllers, Customs and Border Protection officers, under those special provisions, I am eligible to receive a cost of living adjustment right away. Maybe the diet COLA, but at least I can get something. I don't have to be 62 like the other federal employees have to be in order to receive anything. Additionally, if I am a surviving spouse, or I'm an insurable interest survivor, or I am a child that is receiving a benefit, I'm eligible for cost of living adjustments prior to age 62, even though the retiree themselves were not. Now, that's the COLA that I really wanted to talk about. However, there are several others that are available as well. If you're a federal employee and you're working overseas, there is a cost of living adjustment paid to you because in that overseas environment, prices of things may be much higher than they are in the US. So you receive that COLA to try to equalize things, to try to make sure that it's not going to negatively impact your lifestyle in any way. That overseas COLA is not included in the high three average salary. And that's something that someone would get still while they're working, but it's not going to increase their high three. We also have a non-foreign, it's hard to say that, a non-foreign COLA for places such as Alaska and Hawaii, and there are a couple of others that are included there. COLA there too doesn't do anything for the high three. But we had some changes back in 2010 because these employees were getting COLA and it doesn't count towards the high three. They petitioned and started getting locality. Locality is included in the high three. It does increase the retirement. COLA is not included. It does not increase the retirement. And there was an initial phase-in period, but until that locality gets to where COLA was, which is taking some time, these employees may be getting COLA and locality. Locality counts in the high three, COLA doesn't. So that's different kinds of COLA that don't apply after retirement. Bottom line, what I want you to know, a pay raise is something that happens while the person is still working. And again, it can increase their high three and thereby increase their annuity payment or their retirement. A cost of living adjustment, short of that overseas and that non-foreign COLA, is applicable after you have retired, and it's based upon the Consumer Price Index. So very big differences there. That's what I wanted to cover with you tonight. I'm so happy that at least the three of you have joined me. It's so good to see your name pop up in that stream. I'm really happy to see you. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope that things are going okay for you. I really do. I really, really do. We still got a lot of things to try to figure out, and we'll just leave it at that. But if there are things that you want me to talk about, things that you would like for me to cover in the stream, please let me know. I'm always happy to receive your input and to talk about the things that you have questions about. Sometimes it makes it a little bit more clear than me just sending you an email and you getting it in writing. Okay, I'm going to hop off here. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching the replay, let me know that you stopped by. Take care of yourself. I'll be back on Friday.